going? I'm Trevor Hubbs, Director of the Armed Forces Initiative for Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, here today with another book review. That's why I'm in this strange getup. It's going to make sense in a second, I promise. Also, my brother got me this hat. Don't you be a dick about it. It's a nice hat. But today we're talking about Fur, Fortune, and Empire, The Epic History of Fur Trade in America by Eric J. Doolin. Let me just start. Eric Doolin, any book by this guy, just go ahead and buy it. Like, he's a good writer, he's a good historical writer, but more than that, he's a good storyteller. And I don't mean that like story, like not 100% factual, because it is history. He bases it all on firsthand sources, all on valid history, but he tells it in a way that you can read it like it's a story, right? So it makes it a little easier to follow, a little easier to engage with, because there's characters, there's enemies, there's an arc, a parabolic arc to the story, right? So you find yourself getting engaged. It's a long book. It'll take you 2, maybe 3 weeks to read if you sit down every night and crank out 20 pages or so. The most important thing about this book is it's the history of America, right? Like, there are some countries founded on oil money, like Saudi Arabia. The United Kingdom was founded on trading money, like their ability to have a navy and start these colonies all over the world. That's what made that country. Is their just early adaptation and perfection of open sea travel. The United States was founded on fur trapping. It starts with the relationships between European settlers and Native Americans, kind of brokering furs that the Native Americans would trap. It moves on to like the Hudson's Bay Company and actually hiring European American trappers to go out into the wilderness, trap these beavers, trap these otters, get these black bear hides. Like, those are the kind of the top 3 it talks about. Let's go into why I'm wearing the hat. The reason that there was so much money in beaver fur is because, one, here's a hooped beaver fur. This is a Wisconsin beaver from a couple of years ago. It's tanned. I left it on the hoop because it's nice. But you'll notice, like, there's the regular kind of carpet fur, then there's like these guard hairs. So the guard hairs initially weren't desired. They would actually prefer to trade with the Native American tribes who had worn these furs for a year because they'd rub the guard hairs off, right? But this under fur, like, it's hard to tell, but it's really thick. So they take that, they compress it, they'd ship it back to England, they'd weave it into hats like this, right? Stetson, big buyer of it even to this day. I have a Stetson hat upstairs, but this is beaver fur, right? Beaver felt. So they compress all those little hairs until you get a cloth-like material. You make that into a hat. So that's why I'm wearing the hat. But again, my brother got me this hat, and it's a nice hat, so I'll make fun of it. All right, so the book, Fur, Fortune, Empire, details all of these early kind of trades, like goes through the relationships with the Native American tribes, how these different like French settlements versus British settlements all went through this. Talks about like the voyageurs, which is big up where I live in the Great Lakes region. So these are 18 to 20-year-old young men from France who would embed with a local Native American tribe to broker the trade of all these furs and then take them back through the Great Lakes all the way back to the Hudson's Bay Company in Canada and eventually to France. The deal there was, if you serve France honorably doing this as a voyageur for 3 years, you'd be granted like some sort of wealth, maybe an estate, something very nice that would really set you up in France. What happened was a lot of these guys didn't end up going back to France. They ended up staying in the fur trading industry, marrying, like taking spouses in the tribe that they were embedded with, really becoming full tribal members. Now, this really freaked the French crown out to the point that, oh my gosh, we're losing all of our young men to this, wild lifestyle of these Native Americans or Native Canadians, however you want to, First Nations, whatever the best, least offensive way to put that is. But anyway, so, which sparked a whole nother thing in France where they emptied out their prisons and said, hey, prisoner, if you marry this prostitute and move to the New World, either Canada or New Orleans, like, all crime is forgiven, right? Because they were losing so many young men, they started shipping in families. Anyway, that's like a side note in the book, but pretty interesting. They talk about the trade route along the Mississippi River connecting the Great Lakes to New Orleans. They talk about westward expansion, the Louisiana Purchase, how fur money is really driving all of this. They talk about the fur boom, moving from beavers, black bears, and otters. They get into a little bit of like the wolfing fur kind of craze, and then buffalo. Yeah, anything by Eric Doolin, go ahead and buy it. Fur, Fortune, and Empire. It's a longer book. It's going to take you a couple weeks, doing 20 pages a day. Fantastically told history. Like, can't say enough good things about it. For a Fortune Empire, everybody go buy it, go read it, be smarter. Thanks.